A little midweek get-together here on your Warchant multimedia front. He's Ira Schofel, managing editor of Warchant.com. My name is Tom Lang. We may be getting together a little bit more often, everybody, just to check in beyond our date on Monday nights for the Monday Smash, presented by State Farm agent Russ Voorhis. Stay tuned for perhaps some naming details, but we figure maybe it's probably a good idea in order to get some news and notes out to you, kind of more straight line style. Is that right, Ira?
Yeah, I think so. Just kind of a little bit, listen, man, the Jeff Cameron show, Wake Up Warchant, Seminole Headlines, most of the products we offer on YouTube, a lot of them, unless it's breaking news, a lot of them are a little bit more free-flowing and conversational. Yeah, and I think it would be good to just kind of have a little bit more of a news digest maybe on occasion during the week.
So here it is, everybody. We're getting some news to digest, and we'll start with, I brought this up a few times now, Ira, but it seems like it's trending for Florida State on the offensive line that old Jacob Rizzi is going to be a very important piece of the puzzle. Mike Norvell speaking to the media today, and today, for clarity, is Wednesday, August 13th. It sounds like his stock is rising very quickly, and we haven't heard a ton about Andre Otto or Lucas Simmons or any other offensive linemen since the beginning of camp, at least not guys that aren't expected starters. But Jake Rizzi's gaining a lot of praise, even though he's just getting his way back into football shape.
Yeah, and what Mike Norvell said today or Wednesday was exactly what kind of I've been hearing and what I'm thinking about his situation. And again, Jacob Rizzi's kind of an afterthought to a lot of people because he came in last year but didn't play early in the season. He transferred in from Harvard where he played tackle. The former coaching staff was playing at guard and center. But I think there's a chance he could play tackle too. And Mike Norvell basically confirmed that today. He said he's a guy that can play really anywhere across the offensive line. He talked about how smart he is, how agile he is. And so, yeah, man, I think he's a guy that will definitely be a factor. I don't know if he might be number 6. He might be the first guy off the bench at different positions, or he might be number 7 or number 8. But yeah, I think clearly Jacob Rizzi now is in that top 8. And that's huge because they need some experienced guys if any of those top 5 get banged up.
Somebody gets to brag about their top 40, at least early on, and it ain't me. Let's pivot quickly to the to special teams, something we haven't heard a lot about, and frankly, something people don't focus a ton on. But, I mean, it had been a desert for updates on special teams, and now it seems like specialists and returners have been a hot topic, especially because on Tuesday, David Johnson mentioned in passing that Deuce Robinson was back there catching punts, and you're thinking, really? That's like, back in the day in basketball, putting your center at point guard. You're like, you're going to put your tallest guy back there? But Mike Norvell qualified that observation a little bit today, and he gave some clarity, Ira, also on who potentially could be the kick returner for Florida State in 2025, as well as who the primary options are as the punt returner. And some of the names that we expected are the names that he was listing, including the likes of, a Jalen Lucas or a Squirrel White and more.
Yeah, no, I definitely think, Jalen Lucas, I think, is going to be probably the top guy, certainly at kick returns. I mean, if you go back and look at what he did at Indiana, he was an All-American kick returner at Indiana. Broke off several, I think he might have the Indiana record with like 3 touchdowns on kickoff returns. I don't know if punt returns is his strength. He has done it some, but he also either lost that job or went away from that job at a point. And from what we saw last year practice before he got hurt, Jalen Lucas looked a lot more comfortable returning kicks than he did returning punts. So my guess is Lucas is going to be your top kick return guy. They'll put Sam Singleton. They've got a couple other guys they'll put back there at kick return with him. And then punt return, I think it's probably just still pretty wide open. And for whatever reason, that has not been a job that has been it's been a long time since Florida State had a punt returner. They just locked down that job and was a clear-cut guy. Last year, LaWayne McCoy held that job, but was not very effective at it. The year before that, Keon Coleman took it over, which seemed like the craziest thing in the world. You got this 6'4" star wide receiver returning punts until he did it and looked pretty good doing it. And now Deuce Robinson's getting some looks. It sounds like it may be more situational based on who they use and what role. But it seems to me that they don't have a firm grasp on who that number 1 punt returner is going to be.
Yeah, just judging here, tell me if you think I'm barking up the wrong tree. When Mike Norvell says situational for Deuce Robinson, to me that sounds like when they really want somebody to just catch the ball, right, they put him back there in that situation. You think that's correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think it makes sense maybe. My first thought was maybe, especially if you're already pinned back a little bit and you need somebody to make a smart decision whether or not to catch it or let it go into the end zone, when maybe pooch punts, those kinds of things. And I think it would be good to have a big body in those situations too, because, he's just got the length. If those guys crowd him, he can just literally catch it above them. So I think that would be my thought. I would think he's not the guy. If the other team's backed up on their end of the field and they've got to get off some distance, I would not think Deuce is the guy you want in the open field. But maybe in a more compressed setting, and he's such a smart guy and a heady guy, played a lot of college football, he might be that guy that's making the catches at the 10 and in.
Yeah, the good news is he can always lean on Dad and make a phone call or a FaceTime to talk to Dominic, because Dominic was very good at that. I always thought it was insightful. He talked about it in terms of how many first downs can I steal for the offense. That was his mentality as a punt returner. How many first downs do I save them by advancing the ball 10, 15, 20 yards? We'll see how that all shakes out again. There's, more than a dozen. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the opposite of it was sometimes in the last few years for Florida State, it's how many first downs have they lost by letting bounce and roll.
I really didn't want to go there. It makes me – I think this is one thing of all the football pet peeves. I don't know what yours is. I'll ask you in just a second, but I think Corey and I are in total agreement on this particular one of catch the damn football. For crying out loud, they're not allowed to hit you. It's illegal for them to hit you. Please don't be afraid of the football. Is it punt returns for you? Is it something else?
The first thing that came to my mind was lining up offsides. I think especially as a defensive end. I mean, the jumping off sides, I get it. You're trying to time it. There's a lot going on, but you're trying to get an advantage. You're trying to jump the snap count sometimes. And maybe it's worth it, the trade-off of maybe a game-changing sack versus a five-yard offsides. But dudes who continually line up offsides, and sometimes you'll see the referee kind of like saying something to them, and it's like, I'm not going to go the first time, but the fourth time you lined up offsides, finally I'm going to call it. That to me is bizarre.
Bad teams checklist. We've just named a couple of things that you can check the box off. Here's hoping that that's not the case here in 17 days' time. Now Florida State at the linebacker room. You've gotten some clarity on that in the last couple of days. And Tony White getting more specific on that when he was speaking after scrimmage number 2. Mike Norvell mentioned that again today on the morning of Wednesday, August 13th. What's your take on the way that the coaches are talking about the linebackers? It seems like it's been whittled down to 4 quality candidates, maybe some, outside chances of other guys getting in there. But how about the way that they're describing the linebackers?
Yeah, I mean, they've all been very complimentary of them. And you could say that Mike Norvell's complimentary of everyone, and he was complimentary of a lot of people last year as well. I get it. A lot of Florida State fans are not going to believe in this linebacker position until they see it and they see them play well. But Tony White's been complimentary of them as well. In fact, he kind of drew the ire of D-line coach Terrence Knighton by saying that the linebackers were the heartbeat of the defense. So they seem to like them, and clearly they've kind of honed in on that top group, as you said. I mean, it's Omar Graham, Elijah Herring, the transfer from Memphis, who previously played at Tennessee, which is not a surprise at all. And then Justin Cryer. I think those are your top guys. Then Stephon Thompson is in that next group. I mean, I think, there's probably a couple other guys that'll be in the mix there. But I would bet it's mostly those top 4 or 5 guys. And maybe they'll sprinkle in some of those other guys when they can. But, yeah, I think it's clearly those top 3 guys. And again, we can't vouch for it. We're not out there. We don't know how well they're playing, but they certainly seem to be happy with what they've seen so far.
Agreed there. Today, speaking to the media players-wise, Amari Williams and Stephon Thompson, it's 1.5 defenders and a half offensive player as well, because Amari Williams is playing on both sides of the ball. That's something that he expounded on today. Before, I think I want to close out this particular episode. And, folks, these are usually going to be a little more of a quick hitter than a full-on hour-long show. Before I get into that last exercise, Amari got really specific, Ira, in terms of what his role is going to be on defense. You usually – I don't know if he was talked to by the coaching staff or Sports Info after that, but he got pretty granular on what he's going to be doing week to week.
Yeah, that was one I'm guessing that they'll probably have a little conversation with him about. But, yeah, I mean, it's not a shock. It's kind of what we expected when Amari Williams made the transition to defensive end / tight end, is that, he's going to be a pass rusher. He's 236, 237 pounds. He's not, built. He's not built like James Williams, Tom. He's not necessarily built like an every down defensive end. He's built more like James Williams was at Nebraska, and it seems like that's what they're going to do with him. He said they're going to put him in that jack role on third and fourth downs, primary passing situations. And that's pretty much what we expected. He's a long, athletic, twitchy kid, 6'4", was a defensive end, wide receiver / tight end in high school. That you put on the edge and say, "Oh, go get the quarterback." I think he's going to be used at tight end more than some people think. You know, he came out of high school as a defensive end, and then at the end of last season, going into the spring, when they said they're going to move him to defensive end for the spring, I think some people feel like that's going to be his primary position. I think it's going to be very split, and I think it's going to be situational. I think he's going to be a guy that is productive as a tight end and also gets plenty of opportunities in those pass rushing situations. So no, I think he's one of the most exciting players on this team. I thought what he talked about on Wednesday was pretty intriguing. The fact that on one play he had a sack, he switches over to offense, and Gus Malzahn's joking with him about his sack, and then he calls up a play where he scores a touchdown. And I don't think that's going to happen very often in games, but it gives you an idea of the talent level. I mean, he's a special kind of kid.
And this is something that has most recently entered the lexicon of college football because of what Travis Hunter did at Colorado. And obviously that talking point made its way to Jacksonville also, where he's spending a little bit of time on offense and defense. It's a big storyline in the NFL. It sounds like the workload for Amari Williams is the same thing in Florida State. He said something to the effect of, if I'm getting this quote wrong, I'm just trying to air it out in terms of everything that I put out there in a given week of practice. I think one of the blessings for Amari, if you will, Ira, is that the tight end room has been banged up through this camp. So there's been a greater opportunity for him to get offensive reps where maybe Landon Thomas would have taken those away. Maybe Chase Lofton would have taken those away. Yeah,
and those are probably your three top pass catcher, lanky kind of tight ends. I mean, Randy Pittman's going to catch plenty of passes too, but Randy Pittman also can run the ball, line up as an H-back. He can do everything in that Malzahn offense. But those guys are probably going to be your primary pass catchers, along with Marquise and Douglas to some degree. But yeah, and so Chase Lofton was banged up earlier. I think he's back now. But that certainly was an opportunity. And then Landon Thomas being banged up as well. I think my guess is I think they'll be all close to back by the time the season starts. But we'll see. And yeah, I mean, I think the other thing with Amari is that outside linebacker defensive end hybrid. I also think he's a guy that could drop in coverage if they needed to. I don't think it's going to be strictly go after the quarterback. I mean, he plays tight end. We've seen that athleticism. I think they're going to be able to play some games with him.
One of the other things to consider too is with how cut and dry the coordinators have been so far in camp. If Amari wasn't cutting the mustard at either position, I think they'd just send him on over to the other side of the football. I think Tony White would say, Gus, I know you like him, because Gus's eyes lit up when he was speaking on Amari Williams after scrimmage number 2. He's all yours. Or vice versa. Gus could say, I've got a ton of guys, go develop him on the other side of the ball. But none of them are doing that. None of them are indicating that they don't need Amari Williams. And so it's going to be fascinating to monitor how he's used in games. Yeah, truly a two-way player for Florida State near the football. Usually it's away from the football that you get a two-way player, not like this, but that's what Amari Williams is. And now as we're wrapping up this edition, we're kind of, Ira, unofficially at the halfway point of fall practice. They get 25 of them. We're right around 12 or 13 at this point. And so I'm curious, one thing that you figured would happen that is on track according to your expectations, and maybe one thing, it doesn't have to be the most. We always try to do the most or the number. One thing that surprised you so far halfway through these practices.
I think the thing that I expected and is borne out is that I do think the offense is hitting its stride. I think that I was very optimistic about this offense. When they hired Gus Malzahn as offensive coordinator, I was not on board right away the very first minute. But then once I realized, okay, you're getting Tommy Castellanos. Okay, you went out and got Deuce Robinson and Squirrel White and some of these people, Usman Kroma and all these pieces, and then the offensive line transfers. I mean, I really started to get excited about the abilities, because I think Gus Malzahn focusing strictly on offense would be a really good thing. And I feel like Mike Norvell, for whatever reason, these last couple of years, had kind of got into a rut. And I don't know why that was. It just felt like the offense the last couple of years, even going back to 2023, was not making the best use of its parts. I think Gus Malzahn, that's what he does. I'm encouraged by that. And and again, we don't know that the offense is winning the day every day, but we've heard enough from not just the interviews, but things we've heard from the team about big plays in the running game, big plays in the passing game, that I feel really good about that. And that's what I expected. As far as what I didn't expect, maybe that linebacker talk. I don't know that I buy it 100%, and we'll see. We'll know by probably the Alabama game because they're going to get tested with that Alabama running game, and so I think that's going to be fun to see. I didn't expect the most positive talk on defense to be about that linebacker group, but I think that's what we've heard, right? I don't know that there's any position that much praise from Tony White and Mike Norvell than the linebackers.
Yeah, you're hearing almost relief in some ways from Mike Norvell in his voice. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna this idea that he's trying to connote that we're gonna be fine. Like, okay, I agree with you. I am hesitant to believe this, but I'll tell you what, if we get in the second or third quarter of the Alabama game and you're watching linebackers do what they're supposed to do, and whatever, failings are because of good scheme or, Alabama's quicker to the ball in certain situations, but you're watching good downhill linebacker play, I think everybody's going to have one more curse to the sky about the previous regime because they're going to say, these are a lot of the same kids. Right. These are the same kids, and they're drawing blood from a stone where these kids, who else was failed in the last 3 or 4 years? But we haven't gotten to that point, certainly not yet in the conversation, and we'll see. Maybe next time that we sign on and we do this, Ira, we'll have a little bit more of a, do you buy it or do you not? How much stock do you put in on a scale of 1 to 10 of what the coaches are saying about certain positions? Because I know for me that the number one thing would be the Desir twins. I want to believe. I have a hard time buying into the Desir twins being, the game wreckers that Tony White thinks that they are right now.
Yeah, I think we can dive into that. I think it's more he likes the determination, the fight, the spirit, the energy that they bring. If it comes down to it, putting them in the game, I'm curious to see how often that happens. Early on, we'll see. But I think he wants to reward them right now for the way they're playing, and I think he wants to motivate those other guys.
We hope you enjoyed this format of our little midweek chat here. Ira and I just getting you up to date on some news and notes. Ira has another thing that he'd like to promote or discuss.
Just one last thing. I was thinking about it because we didn't really touch on it when we talked about special teams. I thought it was real interesting today, the way Mike Norvell talked about backup kicker, and it's Bruno Royce. I'm not sure how to Royce. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. But he's a freshman. They have a Jake Weinberg's the redshirt freshman who's going to be punting or going to be handling place kicking this year. Mac Chiamento is the punter who's going to be replacing Alex Mastromano. He's been here for 3 or 4 years now, backing up Mastromano. And the Bruno is a guy who came in as a kicker and punter. Very successful, very, very highly regarded coming out of high school. Another big, strong leg. And Mike Norvell basically said, don't be shocked if he gets some opportunities. Maybe it's as the year goes on. So that's interesting to me. I don't think it's been an unbelievable camp so far for Weinberg or Chiamento. Norvell did say that Weinberg did kick better in the second scrimmage, and he thought that was good for him. The thing with Chiamento in the past has been big leg, not always super consistent, and I think that's going to be the issue sometimes for Weinberg too. So I think he's using that Bruno Royce, I need to find out how to pronounce his last name, card as a motivation for both those guys, but also as it's a plan B. We're not stuck if one of you guys kind of goes sideways.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Did I hear this properly? I was multitasking when I was listening to Mike Norvell's presser. Did he say that Bruno's going to be the kickoff specialist, or did he say that they brought him in here because they knew he could do kickoffs? Like, I heard that part of the discussion.
And I may have zoned out at that minute, man. My apologies. My apologies.
That's fair.
Yeah, I apologize.
Well,
we're multitasking a lot of times during these videos, so that's why we both missed it. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me. But they've got huge legs. They've got huge legs to choose from. I think all 3 of those guys could probably do it.
It'll be fascinating to watch. I think Mike had to say in terms of Jake that he had a bounce back performance, whether he did or he didn't. That's me editorializing. I know we want to keep this newsier, but that's just my defenses are up on that one because Mike was not pleased after scrimmage number 1. We know that they got thunder for legs. Just the question is for the kicking side, can they put him between those 2 yellow things that are out there in the end zone? If you enjoy this format, let us know either in the comment section underneath the video or leave us a review on the pod feed. But he's Ira, I'm Tom. We're going to be doing this more often to get you quicker news and notes so you're up to date. Here's what's coming up for the rest of this week. On Thursday, Pat Surtain, Sr., defensive backs coach, is talking at the dais along with some student athletes. Florida State takes a break from interviews on Friday, and then on Saturday we get Mike Norvell along with Tim Harris Jr. to talk about the wide receivers, which will be really, really fascinating. Of course, we've got our shows in between. Wake Up Warchant will be available to you, Jeff Cameron Show. And then stay tuned for a recruiting podcast. I will let the true unveil to be done by the people that are involved in it. But that's coming. Check your feeds Friday for a recruiting podcast to be debuted here on Warchant. Anything else you want to promote, Ira, before we say goodbye?
Goodbye. No, and I'm glad we're getting to do this. I think it's going to be good as we go on. And again, we still have the breaking news videos. Like yesterday, we broke in with a Conrad Husty video. But it'd be good to kind of give a quick hitter on some of the news of the day.
There it is. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Warchant Multimedia Network. Look at that. I didn't just say Warchant TV.